Let's bring in Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner, that means Britain's Trade Commissioner and Consul General in New York, Anthony Phillipson. Mr. Consul General, I think that's the correct form of address.
That's great.
Okay.
Very nice.
You like that?
Yes.
Okay. The Brits are leaving the European Union.
That's right.
You desperately want a trade deal with us, don't you?
Yes, we do. We want a trade deal with you. We want a trade deal with Australia and New Zealand. We launched a public consultation process on this last week. Begins a 14-week period of asking people what they want us to do in this trade deal. So we've fired the starting gun.
Donald Trump, President Trump, has laid down a pretty hard line. He wants the Brits to get out of Europe completely. No holdovers, no hangovers with the Europeans. Can you do that?
What the President said to the Prime Minister when he was in the UK the other day, and I had the privilege of being at Blenheim Palace for the dinner that she hosted for him there, and they both said in their speeches that we are totally committed to deepening and strengthening this extraordinary relationship that we already have. He said in the press conference with her the next day that he was confident that she had a plan to deliver Brexit, and that whatever plan she had was fine by him as long as we could take forward the relationship, and that's exactly what we're doing.
You've got to be out, the Brits have got to be out of Europe by March, I think it's March 29th of next year. You're out at that point.
That is when we will leave the EU, 11 o'clock p.m., 29th of March 2019. We will then move into, if this is all agreed as part of the ongoing negotiations, an implementation period, which would be a way of phasing our leaving the EU, but we will leave the EU 29th of March next year.
Is it a clean break? Is there any holdover of ties to Europe?
Well, there'll be an ongoing relationship. The Prime Minister, again, almost at the same time the President was in the UK, published a white paper on our ambitions for our future relationship. We're leaving the EU, but we're not leaving Europe. We're totally committed to European prosperity, European security. We will have a deep, comprehensive economic partnership with the with the EU, but also one that allows us to go and deepen and strengthen relationships with the US and other growth markets around the world.
Now, Jean-Claude Juncker and President Trump talked yesterday about moving towards a situation where you've got no tariffs, no barriers, no subsidies, absolute free trade. Now, that's way off in the distant future. But does Britain want a similar no tariffs, no subsidies, no barriers, same kind of deal with us?
We believe in free trade. We believe in trade liberalisation. As few barriers as we can get, as few market distortions as we can get. Let's allow companies to trade with each other. Let's allow investment. The investment between the UK and the US is already enormous.
Yes.
$1 trillion invested in each direction. And we want to keep that flow moving. So wherever we can take down barriers, the better. In terms of the EU-US piece, if I can just pause on that for a second, we have always been very passionate and strong supporters of an EU-US trade deal. We did it under the previous government, and so yesterday's announcement between the Commission and the President is really good news. Alongside that, we can take forward the UK-US piece and create a transatlantic marketplace which is all about jobs and growth and prosperity.
If you created that transatlantic marketplace, real free trade, Britain and America, it would have to pass muster in Parliament, wouldn't it? You'd have to have a vote on it.
Yes. So, again, this is the other pieces of legislation that have been going through the UK Parliament, setting out how we will sort of deal with these issues in the future. But I'm pretty confident that if the government does a deal with the US that is good for Britain, good for jobs, good for growth, they'll pass that through Parliament. Parliament will have its say. I mean, leaving the EU, a lot of it is about sovereignty, so Parliament is important. But I think if we take them a deal that we can show this is really good for Britain, I think we'll be fine.
What do you make of people like me? British accent, born and raised in Britain, university in Britain. I come to America and become a citizen. What do you make of that?
I think you're the epitome of the special relationship.
Game, set and match, young man. Game, set. That was very, very good, sir. Anthony Phillipson, it was a pleasure, and thank you very much for being with us today. So we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay.